Welcome to Cohesive Home Podcast Episode 5. In today's episode, we're covering one of our favorite topics, family traditions. At the end of the show, we'll also share how you can enter our next giveaway.
Cohesive Home is a podcast for families seeking a more intentional life. Looking for inspiration to create your ideal family culture and home? Kate and Melissa, two best friends and laid-back minimalists from opposite ends of the country, chat about all things parenthood, living simply, and crafting a happier home.
So today we're talking about one of my favorite topics, and that's family traditions. When most of us begin the minimalism process, so much of the transition revolves around what to get rid of and which activities to cut from the schedule. But once we hit that point of having just enough and a schedule that doesn't feel overwhelming, family traditions are such a simple way to add value to our daily routines and seasonal celebrations.
Many of us have our traditions surrounding holidays and special things that we all grew up with. But what we want to challenge you all to think about today are the daily and weekly traditions that create your family's unique story. Traditions don't have to be some huge thing. They can be small details to a season. One I loved growing up with was making applesauce in the fall, or something we started while living in Germany was going on a hike every spring.
Exactly. And I'm sure that some of you listening can probably name a few activities that your family loves doing together. For example, my family and I love having Saturday morning dance parties where we crank up the music and we dance in the kitchen while making breakfast. We act totally silly, but we love sharing good music with our daughters and also, passing on some of our sweet dance moves.
I'm picturing Kirk right now doing those dance moves.
It's the best.
I'm so sorry. He is good. He's got some good moves, I will say.
Totally.
So one tradition we started a couple of years ago in our family is Sweet Treat Friday. It's where we go somewhere special to get a treat, or we just end up making like gluten-free chocolate chip cookies. And now that we homeschool, we don't always adhere to it perfectly, but the kids are always excited about it. And it also gives me as a mom just something to be intentional with sugar intake for the rest of the week. It's kind of like a twofold, mom win and also a treat. So.
Oh, totally. And I love that having something sweet once a week gives your kids something to anticipate, and it makes it special.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So what's your family's thing? And if you're having a hard time pinpointing your family's traditions, can we offer some guidance? First, consider what your family values. So this might mean going back to your family's mission statement. And if you don't have one yet, we have a free guide on our website, cohesivehome.com, under our blog tab.
Then what you can do is think of things that you've done in the past that were a hit with your family. What put a smile on your kid's face, or what is something you still talk about? Is it an activity or ritual that can be repeated somehow, either weekly or monthly or even seasonally? But remember that creating memories around a reoccurring activity doesn't always go as planned, and that's okay. What's cool about a tradition is the opportunity to create it will always come around again.
Such a good point. And we want to place the emphasis on making memories and not perpetuating stress. So choose your traditions wisely and just let go of the ones that cause anxiety or are too difficult to pull off. Some traditions just aren't a good fit at certain stages of raising kids, and that's okay.
One thing I do often actually is trying a test run of a new tradition that I want to introduce and just seeing how it goes over. I want to see if it was easy, or if the kids liked it and it was fun, or was there crying and fighting?
Definitely don't want that.
Yeah, no, that's like bad idea, ditch it.
Right.
But if it's a good idea, maybe sometimes it just needs some tweaking. So, but over time, if you try it that way, you'll craft it into what works best for your family.
That's really such a good idea, Melissa, and it's a easy way to try something without making a big deal about it right off the bat. There's one tradition I've been really wanting to try, and that's, like a Friday night special dinner into a sort of tech-free family time Saturday. So the idea is to make a big deal out of the dinner, fancy tablecloths, candles, maybe make a new recipe, and have friends over to share in it.
But
it is so hard for me to pull that off at this stage with, a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. It sounds really good in theory, but they're pretty much worn out by 4:30 p.m. And let's be honest, so am I. So a fancy dinner is it's really not in the cards right now.
No, definitely not. But you know what? It's okay because you're figuring out what works best for your family right now. So to all of you listening, make sure to always be aware if traditions are becoming a burden instead of a joy. If making sure you have the perfect memory of a tradition is making you crazy, then it's just not worth it. Some of you might say, but my mother did this every year for me. Or like many of us, you saw a Pinterest pin or an Instagrammer pull this awesome tradition off just beautifully. Why can't you? We have different lives than our parents and from each other. So you should definitely let go of any of the guilt and just accept where you are.
Absolutely. I am so glad that you said that.
You're welcome. Well, we all need the reminder, don't we?
Oh,
I mean, I do.
Totally. We absolutely do. Well, okay, so since we gave up our fancy dinner, we've now started what we call European lunch. Believe me. Yeah, it sounds fancier than what it is. So basically, I make green smoothies, and we cut up a bunch of raw vegetables like bell peppers and carrots and tomatoes. We get big hunks of cheese, and we sit on that fancy tablecloth, but on the floor. And it's becoming a really much loved tradition in our house.
Oh, I absolutely love that. And I actually might try that out because it would kind of help us remember our vineyard picnics behind our apartment in Germany. It makes me sound way cooler than I really am by saying that. But honestly, we loved eating meals outside with friends. We stayed in France for a couple months before we moved to Germany, and the French culture, in my opinion, is truly created around a table. And we absolutely miss that.
And I am so jealous that you had that experience while I sit on the cold floor with my daughters and eat grocery store cheese.
I'm really sorry about that. No, but you have to know, that's where we are now. We're sitting on that cold floor with you.
Right. And it's
the store-bought cheese.
Right. Exactly. But it's so good that you had that experience.
Yeah. But actually, speaking of those dinners around a table, it's something that I actually grew up with. Every night, my family, we would always sit down at the dinner table together. And that is one tradition that has just stuck with me. And it's something that my husband and I, we just really, we adhere to it. I mean, every night we're around the dinner table with our kids. We pray together, and then we go around the table saying what we're thankful for. It's usually my favorite part of the day, and I learn so much about my kids by hearing what makes them happy and grateful. And it also gives them the opportunity to take the time to think of those things. So it's good all around. I love it.
I love that you share that tradition with your kids, and I really hope that as my daughters get older that we can do that as well. We actually started praying with our oldest at bedtime about 2 years ago. And this is kind of a funny off-topic story, but at the time she had this pink plastic Cinderella kite someone had given her. She had only flown it maybe once or twice before we lost it, but for about a year she would thank God every night for her pink kite. So after the 20th or so night of that, my husband Kirk and I were like, okay, is there anything else you want to thank God for? It's such a funny memory, but, it's things like that that create our family traditions.
Yep. And our kids are such wild cards, aren't they?
Oh, totally.
They'll always put their own spin on our tradition. So that's one thing we definitely want to let everybody know is let them be involved. Don't force it upon them. If they have an idea, it's always good to see what their opinion is as far as the tradition goes. And don't be afraid to be silly and have fun. Our time with our kids, it's so short. And so these family traditions should definitely not be taken too seriously.
Absolutely. It's far more important to just be present and enjoy those moments rather than making them into something that they're not. So bottom line, friends, identify your family's values and interests, create new traditions around them, and just let go of any traditions that don't add happiness to your home.
And now for our giveaway. We are going to be giving away the Book of New Family Traditions, How to Create Great Rituals for Holidays and Every Day. To enter into this giveaway, all you need to do is leave us a review that you absolutely love us on iTunes. If you've already left us a review, you will automatically be entered into this giveaway. We love the great suggestions in this book, and we think you will too. So enter. Please tell your friends about it. Just get the word out. We need some really good reviews on iTunes. And so this is our way to thank you for participating in our podcast. We'll leave a direct link to leaving a review on iTunes in our show notes and also on our website and in our Instagram profile. The deadline for the giveaway will be April 12th of 2016. That's the day before our next podcast airs. So we will announce the winner of the giveaway at the beginning of our next podcast.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to hang with us. In our next episode, we'll be chatting about streamlining schedules and time management. Thanks again for listening to Cohesive Home Podcast Episode 5. See you next time.